It is time now for Rappin' with the Reps. We're also streaming this live on our Facebook page. Joined in studio by State Reps Roman Kozak and Josh Kail. Good morning, gentlemen. Good to see you.
Good morning. How are we doing this morning?
Well, we're doing good, but I know you've had a lot of budget crunching, number crunching, and man, we can't wait to hear what's happening with that.
I was waiting for the call to say, hey, we're going to be stuck in Harrisburg, but we didn't see that, so that means no budget. Still no budget yet, right?
No budget.
No budget yet.
I'm figuring out the microphone right now. I promise that's not Roman with some movements. But
well, Scott just had breakfast. I thought maybe someone was going on.
Scott.
Breakfast burrito there.
Well, I don't know. So, well, let's start out first talking about Josh. You were instrumental part of this, as well as DJ Fry and Fry Transportation.
Yeah. As we sit in the Fry Transportation studio here.
Yeah, absolutely. Lights at Western Beaver. We're going to see Friday Night Football starting at Western Beaver this year. So
yeah, first time.
You
know, some of the leadership over at Western Beaver, Jonathan Bernard, and DJ was very instrumental in all of this. DJ Fry, of course. We talked about they had a vision about potentially getting lights. And they came to me and asked if there was any way that the state could be helpful in that endeavor. And we had some long conversations. We talked to the athletic director, superintendent, and we put a plan together. And the one requirement that I said to them was, if we're going to do this, we're not allowed to raise taxes or create an extra burden for the constituency, because sometimes that happens. Sometimes you get lights, and all of a sudden they want to make other major improvements, and all of a sudden you have increased taxes for a project that wasn't supposed to be out of the gates. But that was not the case here. We have lights at the stadium now, no increased taxes. We advocated for a grant with the Commonwealth. Jonathan Bernard was a huge driver of this, and others at Western Beaver. I'm a football player. I'm a former high school football player, former college football player, and Friday nights are for the boys. And Friday nights is when we ought to be playing high school football. That's their time slot. And I'm very excited to see and to go watch Western Beaver be able to play football on a Friday night, without any additional tax burden to the constituents of that region.
So, and you're going to start out, the first game is actually going to be two teams that are within your district, which is Southside at Western Beaver.
That's right. Yeah. So it's going to be hard to be rooting for one team. I mean, it's at Western Beaver. I'm rooting for the lights to work. That'll be a good game, that being that it's the first one. And then the head coach of Southside is a Geneva grad, Mr. Travel Piece. I played football with him when I was at Geneva. So there's a lot of personal connections to this game. Should be a great game. Yeah. Looking forward to it. I think from what we can tell so far, both teams look like they're going to have a pretty competitive season. So should be a good game, good way to start things off with a rivalry.
And Coach Travel Piece, he's brought back a huge tradition at Southside over the last couple of years with them. Not only being competitive, but getting far in the playoffs each and every year.
He was a running back. I was a fullback at Geneva, so we spent a little bit of time together.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, what did you run the 40-yard dash?
My 40-yard dash, it was fast, exhilarating. Is what I would call it.
Now it's even faster. I
don't know that I can run 40 yards now. What I can tell you, I don't know where my 40 number was, but I can tell you is I had 3.6 yards per carry. I don't tell people how many carries. As a fullback, it wasn't many, but 3.6 yards per carry.
Impressive.
All right, so and we just talked about it now, so it'll be good since it's two teams in your district and you can't really root for one or the other. Josh is going to jump up and join the guys in the booth that night?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
So do some color
commentary. It's like
commentary.
a dream come true. We've talked about this in the past, about actually doing games.
We're going to make it happen.
Yeah, I think...
I don't know if Mangino and they'll be all right. Mangino and Azadian, they'll be like, who's this you brought up here?
Yeah, it'll be okay. I'm gonna try and come up with some one-liners.
Right.
Shave my face with a rusty razor blade or something. Right? Wasn't that Lang's?
Mike Lang.
Yeah, something. Oh God.
We'll do something good.
So all right. Well, Roman, what's your thoughts about all this?
What, Western Beaver?
Yeah.
That's great, Josh. Thank you for working on that. I've been hearing about it for a while now. I know multiple times when I was around Josh, he was working on that, communicating about it, and trying to make this happen. And for the people of Western Beaver, it's just a great thing. So I'm happy for them and happy that, that's like he said, it's Friday nights are a very special thing, and it's really cool that those people there in the community get to experience that because it hasn't happened before.
All right.
I noticed you're wearing, Representative Kozak, you're wearing your Commonwealth Partners shirts,
Yeah.
representing them. Well, what is that organization?
They're just a group organization, conservative organization in Pennsylvania that advocates for conservative issues. So basically, a lot of them are economic and school-based issues. So.
You've been delving into economic matters with the budget.
Yeah.
And, we were curious how far along it is and what, it's certainly overdue past the deadline. And what's your experience? What are the big sticking points?
You want to start? I can start.
The biggest sticking point initially is the overall spend number, where we are and what we need to be at in order to function as a Commonwealth over the coming years ahead. We cannot function at the level of spending that we have currently, and going into the budget that was requested by Governor Shapiro. We are currently, our budget from last year was $47.6 billion. Just to give a frame of reference and an idea, 2018, I think when you came in, it was around $32 billion.
My first budget was $34 billion. 2019 was my first budget, though, so 18 may have been 32.
So there was a discussion around, probably 32 point something, but that if this was adjusted for inflation at a normal rate, so if basically 2020 didn't happen, COVID era, we would be around $38 billion if we were to continue to spend at a reasonable rate adjusted for inflation. But we're at 47.6. Governor Shapiro offered a budget over $50 billion. That's significant. In order to pay for that, we have to tap into reserves, rainy day fund, and then that will dry up by 2028 and ultimately lead us into what we call a structural deficit, which is going to burn all of our cash, which leads us to a point where we either have to cut services or raise taxes. We don't want to do those things. We don't want to continue to increase and promise more services and then all of a sudden turn around and say, well, we got to raise your taxes in Pennsylvania where we already pay too high in taxes anyways. But that's the starting point. I know Josh can also jump in here and elaborate on some of the other sticking points too. But
remarkably, what Roman said is exactly, he's right on. And what's remarkable about that is there really isn't a major issue that couldn't be dealt with, that couldn't have been dealt with on June 30th. There's a lot of years when there's a major budget and passes, there's a tax that people want to cut, or there's a real revenue issue that we're trying to get through. This year, the structural deficit long term is certainly something that the Republicans, Leader Pittman, has been advocating for fixing, and he's wise to do so. And he's really taking his role as a steward of the public fisc seriously, which is great. And we are happy that he is doing that. But as far as major marquee issues that usually delay budgets, there aren't any. I'm going to be completely blunt with you. The reason we don't have a budget is a complete lack of leadership from our governor. He has been distant from the Capitol. He's been aloof as it relates to this process. He's been more concerned about what's happening in California and D.C. and New York City than he is in Harrisburg. He's more interested in posting TikTok videos than he is in actually sitting down and having a budget negotiation. And when you have a governor that's more focused on his next election, on his next step, than he is on actually governing and delivering for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, you end up with a situation like we're in right now. And it's unfortunate because under Tom Wolf, he wasn't flashy. He wasn't, all over the place. He wasn't as charismatic maybe as this governor is. But you know what? When it came time for budgets, we sat down, we had an arrangement, and we got work and stuff done. And he was of the same party as this governor is. It's just a different style. And frankly, this TikTok governorship, the style is garbage in my estimation. It's not serious, and it's always focused on the next step for him personally instead of the next step for the Commonwealth. That's where I see this budget. That's where the lack of leadership is. in Harrisburg right now, and it's unfortunate because there's going to be people that start hurting here soon because elected officials, certain elected officials, don't want to actually do their job. They're just worried about what's next for them personally. Dealing with that, Senate leadership, House leadership, the House is controlled by Democrats. The Senate's controlled by Republicans. I think if you got them in a door behind closed doors, I think they'd probably all tell you the same exact thing. So I'm just telling you here publicly amongst our friends on the radio broadcast what people are saying in Harrisburg, what people know to be true in Harrisburg. And I think it's about time we cut the nonsense, sat down, and got a budget done.
Well, let me ask you this. So we're going into school year's coming. How is the fact that we don't have a budget at this point? Is that going to affect the schools and the school year coming up at all?
No. There's certain monies that can be released. Thankfully, we have a very competent treasurer who has managed the fisc well, and there are ways where the treasurer can get involved in forward monies that are anticipated through a budget. So Stacey Garrity is ready to go and ready to help in this process. So that'll offer a lot of relief for local school districts and for local nonprofits. But if this goes beyond November, December, then you're going to start having real issues. It used to be that if you didn't get a budget done by June 30th, people stopped getting paid.
Right.
Then the state Supreme Court made a ruling a number of years ago that basically said, you can play with the money, and the treasurer, if they're managing things well and they're on top of stuff, can help out in that process. If not, then school districts need to get tax anticipated notes, loans, basically from banks. So they will be covered, but if it goes beyond December, there's going to be serious crises. We don't want to get it there. There's no reason for it to get there. The fact of the matter is we got to fix the structural deficit and we got to fix the mass transit funding issue. Those two issues are very fixable if we have people that are willing to sit down at the table and actually get the job done.
And just to go off of that there too, this past week, on a almost party line vote, basically in the House, there was a mass transit bill that was pushed through that we all know, everyone knows, was dead on arrival in the Senate. And this bill is not really even part of the budget. It's another increase in funding for mass transit, particularly dealing with the bailout of SEPTA, which is the Southeastern Public Transportation Authority out in Philadelphia, a mismanaged organization that's not raising rates at all, hasn't raised rates in years for ridership, wants more money from the state and the feds to bail themselves out of a really poor fiscal situation. So that's also on top of the money that's being requested, an increase in the budget. So the Senate this week, was it yesterday, 2 days ago? They were in session and they passed a budget bill that mirrors last year's budget bill. And then they also passed a transportation funding bill that deals with what we need to really face is restructuring the public transit and making sure that we do this in a fiscally responsible way. So, if there's this discussion that, there's no negotiation in good faith, if negotiation wants to really be in good faith, we would deal with the budget that we have. We'd fund what we have as was agreed to last year and continue to talk about what's next rather than play these games. And like Josh said, Governor Shapiro has generally just been out there absent on this topic.
Yeah, he's been out to lunch. And I just I can't stress this enough. This is not a partisan Republican Democrat type of issue that we're dealing with here. This is a lack of leadership issue with an individual in the governor's mansion. And, there's, I think, broad consensus about where we should end up landing on the budget. I think even the mass transit stuff, it's not a Republican Democrat issue. It's kind of, washes out like that. But it's actually a regional issue, where members from the Philadelphia area are more animated about the SEPTA, what they call it, than the rest of the state. So we're dealing with some issues that are typical, but there's no reason why these issues could not have been dealt with in May and June. There's no reason whatsoever, and it's putting stress on our local communities, on our local school districts, because we can't get our nonsense together in Harrisburg. And it gets very frustrating for us as individual state representatives that are watching this and active in the process, but not able to, provide that leadership that a governor should be providing.
All right. And while we're going to head to the phone lines here in a second, but I think Jake Topper agrees with you guys as well, because he sent a press release out to us yesterday, and it says there is a path to agreement on all fronts. I have seen it, but if we continue down the path of showmanship instead of showing up and finding real solutions to these very serious problems, this budget impasse will only continue to deepen, and the Commonwealth will not find itself in a better place.
Yeah, I mean, he's commenting on the TikTok governor there too. So I mean, it's just So
why do we have to keep bailing out? Because this isn't the first time we've had to bail out Philadelphia's transit, but yet, it seems like we've had to bail out Pat in the past before too. So what do you think is causing the issue that we're having to bail these public transit authorities out?
I mean, if you look at it from a business perspective, it's mismanagement of the revenue that comes in and the spending that goes out, right? So you've got a situation again where, especially since 2020, another watershed moment recently in our Commonwealth, where ridership is down significantly, right? People aren't utilizing the public transportation like they used to. That's a part of it. And refusing to increase rates, even slightly, just to, in order to contribute to that, if you're going to ride and contribute to that. So if you want the state to continue to subsidize, someone recently put it to me like, a subsidy is actually riders paying most of the share and the state coming in and chipping in some to help. Well, if you look at it, it's the complete inverse. The state's paying for, in states and feds, it's like 75% of the budget almost, we'll say 70% conservatively towards SEPTA is being funded by outside sources, and then the rest of the revenue is coming locally. And that's for SEPTA. So is that something, that's the debate that we're having, and, how much should we be involved there? Now, that region of our state does produce a significant portion of income, but how many people use that public transportation is important. We want public transportation to function. Josh and I here are co-sponsors on a bill with Representative Rob Matsey to try to make public transportation funding more fair and equitable to us out here in Beaver County. Right. We don't get, if you want to talk about the fair share, we don't get that here. Pittsburgh and Philadelphia keep getting increases. The greater metropolitan areas keep getting increases, and we get stuck. And Beaver County Transit Authority does a great job at managing the funds that they have. But man, I'll tell you what, if we actually got what was supposed to come to us, if you want to do that, quote unquote, equitably, things would be much different.
Yep. Okay. They're losing money, significant money. They don't want to raise the rates more because they think that'll price out their constituency. We got to start asking hard questions. If it's losing money, that means not many people are using it.
Right.
One of the major reasons why not many people are using it, and this is something that we have been dealing with in the past couple of years, is the crime that's been happening on these subway systems, on this SEPTA system, the Southeast Pennsylvania Transit Authority. We call it SEPTA. And we have been fighting with their district attorney who refuses to enforce laws, Larry Krasner. And this is one of the major issues that we've been dealing with, is that there's crime on these transportation units, and people are afraid to go on them. So that obviously affects the ridership. And that's just one amongst many issues as to why that the system isn't vibrant as it should be. But we're entering into a new era. Transportation, everything is different. People are working from home. People aren't necessarily going into downtowns as much like they were anymore.
Ubers and
Lyfts, becoming more individualized, more, and it's only going to get more like that. So really, what we are doing is just subsidizing a failed status quo, and we need a long-term solution for this system.
All right, you want to throw your headphones on? We got a phone call.
We're going to go out to the phone lines. If you have a question about the state legislature. Hello, you're on Beaver County Radio Morning Show.
Hi, this is Susan Wings, guys. How y'all doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Hey, Susan.
I'm doing fine. I'm going to call about my favorite bugaboo, which is per diems. What is the current amount of a per diem?
That's a good question.
$194 $4 for a full one, I think. I could get back to you on that. I could talk to my staff, and they would certainly know. By the way, we should have our staffs in here to do an interview one day.
Keep talking about it, but you say Monica won't come.
Monica, Phil, we want to get all of them in. But I believe it's $194 per, and that's for lodging and for food throughout the day while we're in Harrisburg. If we're staying over, that's the yes.
What proof do you have to receive your money?
So I know that you have. Well, you can't not show up to Harrisburg. Believe me, there are some.
No. I mean receipts. Do you have to show receipts for the money you receive?
No, you don't. You don't have to show receipts. Some members do show receipts, and they keep receipts posted on their website. What you have to do is show up for a roll call vote and be there in person in order I believe the comptroller's office is the one that ends up controlling it. In order to get those resources. There's been some discussion in the past about everybody having to show and do receipts, but currently there is no mandated receipt.
So I just Googled it.
To get my property tax rebate, I have to have my tax receipt. I have to fill out a form. I have to mail it in. And I have to wait till July 1st to get $380. It seems a little out of line that the per diem, let's say you're in Harrisburg for a week and you're getting $190 you can get a day. It just seems to me that there should be proof. If I, as a homeowner, have to prove that I'm not cheating, shouldn't everyone?
Yeah, no, you have a great point. And you as well on the property tax issue, we should also be dealing with that as well. So it shouldn't take as long. And really, those on fixed incomes, as they get into their senior age and stuff like that too. We should be.
And I are senior citizens on Social Security. Now, my husband's going to be 74. He still works part-time. Only because property tax for us, we've been in our house 39 years. 1 month of our combined Social Security has to go to property taxes. We paid for our house twice. Once when we bought it, and once in property taxes, more than once in property taxes. There needs to be something more than property tax rebate for long-term in their homes, so we don't have to lose our homes because of property and school taxes.
I agree with you.
I just got my school tax. $2,000.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money, guys.
I agree with you.
We need property tax reform.
Which school district do you live in?
Well, I live in Allegheny County. It's Montour.
Okay, because the property taxes aren't state taxes. Property taxes are school district taxes and they're county taxes. And with Sarah Anamorado just raising taxes by 40%, I could understand your frustration with property taxes.
Being, maybe we go from funding schools a different way. We go to a sales tax. We tax things now that are not taxed, such as clothing, different things like that. We may raise it a little bit, but you can't fund schools based on homeowners.
Yeah, the reality is
archaic.
You shouldn't have to rent your home the rest of your life. That's the reality, especially for people who've been like you said in your situation.
I agree with that. I agree with that sentiment. I will just say, and thank you for calling. By the way, I appreciate you calling and asking those pertinent questions.
Mr. Kozak,
what's that?
I have to tell you, this is a side note. I am a proud graduate of Oliver High School, and I sat behind your dad
Oh, man.
in trigonometry.
That's amazing.
So I am very glad to see you, your success.
Oh, thank you so much. My dad, God rest his soul, he passed away a few years ago. But that's really, it's always encouraging to hear. It's a blessing to hear people who who knew him, and brings a smile to me and my family. So thank you. I really appreciate
And
that.
I have to tell you, as a teenager, he was a year ahead of me. Your dad was a hunk.
Oh, I was gonna say, it sounds like somebody had a crush here.
Hey, he was
awesome.
city champion pitcher in the city championship. Ended up going to Edinburgh University, and the Seattle Pilots, if you know who they were, tried to bring him into their system. And my dad ended up with the Pirates for
That's cool.
training and all that
Were you
stuff.
adopted?
I'll get you.
Thank you very much for your call.
Rowan was
Call,
actually
too.
an athlete, believe it or not.
You take care.
Thank you.
So I did, while we were sitting here, I did look it up, and according to AI, it says the per diem's 181 a day for housing and 64 for food. That's the current rate.
Okay.
So whether that's right or not, I don't know, but that's what it says.
I don't.
Yeah.
Pennsylvania reps that live within more than 50 miles away from their home for legislative business.
Yeah, which we live a little further than 50 miles
Just a
away.
tad. Yeah,
It's
just a tad.
interesting. Roman and I are closer to Columbus and Charleston than we are to Harrisburg.
Yeah.
It's like a 4-hour.
I never thought of that.
Yeah, it's not the most pleasant ride in the world, especially during the winter months. Heading through Somerset can be a real bear.
Oh, I've done that. Hey, we have to go to a break. We'll be right back more with Rappin' with the Reps.
Beaver County Radio and Fry Transportation are on the move, and they're coming your way with the best Beaver County has to offer. You're listening to Beaver County Radio, proudly presented by Fry Transportation.
Snack wraps are back at your local McDonald's. A tortilla filled with white meat chicken, lettuce, and cheese with your choice of ranch or spicy sauce. Available a la carte or in a 2-snack wrap combo meal. Only at McDonald's. I'm loving it.
Looking for an elevated dining experience with a lively bar atmosphere? Then Jackson's Restaurant and Bar in Monaca is your destination. Join Jackson's for Thursday Night Live, featuring top-notch local music. Jackson serves modern American cuisine with a fresh flair, perfect for lunch, dinner, and now Sunday brunch from 2 to 6, with entrees like grilled salmon, grilled sirloin, and bacon-wrapped pork tenderloin. Located near the Beaver Valley Mall, adjacent to the Hilton Garden Inn, Jackson's event space is the perfect venue for weddings, bridal showers, or anniversaries. Visit jacksonsbeavercounty.com for details.
AK Nahas is celebrating their 86th anniversary with incredible specials in every department. Save on Whirlpool electric dryer and washer with removable agitator, just $5.49 each. Get an Ashley 3-piece sectional for $14.99 or lift recliner with heat and massage for $6.99. Save big on 5-piece counter height dining sets starting at $5.99. And queen mattresses starting at $2.99 plus so much more, including free local delivery and 12-month special financing. For quality products at the right price, trust AK Nahas Appliance Furniture, Mattress, and TV. You'll do okay with AK.
It's time to wake up, Beaver Valley, with Pastor David Grove from the Church of the Redeemed of Beaver Valley. Tune in to Beaver County Radio this and every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. It's time to wake up and turn our hearts back to Jesus Christ. So wake up early this Saturday and tune in to Wake Up Beaver Valley from 9 until 10 a.m. right here on Beaver County Radio.
Beaver County Radio's news source. 99.3 FM, 1230 WBVP, and BeaverCountyRadio.com. Here's Noah Haswell.
Good morning on this Thursday, August 14th of 2025. We will have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after we take this look at news. A bunch of residents from Economy Borough accused the Beaver County Conservation District through the Department of Environmental Protection of purposely stalling construction of new homes in the borough through conservation issues at the Beaver County Commissioners' work session yesterday in Beaver. Chad Weaver, the owner of Weaver Homes in Economy, is getting more conservation items than expected, and this issue has been going on since February of 2025. However, according to Beaver County Commissioner Chairman Dan Camp,
So we do have a meeting set up with the DEP. I think it's August 28th. We have a meeting with the DEP, the regional office, to discuss what's going on. So, we're going to have those conversations in regards to specifically Lakeside and probably, I don't know what the project was. Weaver Hunt, which the one in Houston was called.
It's Meadowcrest or something like that.
Yeah. So, we're going to discuss that to see, how this all came about. We hear from one side that the DEP is heavily involved. They're choosing to be. We hear from the other side that they were called in because at the end of the day, they're the authority that could put a hold on something.
An unidentified 30-year-old black man was found yesterday before 1:30 p.m. by the Beaver Valley Regional Police Department, and no other information was available after he was found. This man went temporarily missing, and an alert was sent out yesterday just before 1 p.m. by the Beaver Valley Regional Police Department saying he was last spotted near Hank's Frozen Custard and Mexican Food in New Brighton, and police were asking at the time he went missing to call 911 if you saw him. On August 29, 2025, Western Beaver High School will host Southside High School for their first home game ever under Friday night lights. Rich Need Balla Field in Brighton Township will have permanent lighting for the first season of Friday night football at Western Beaver High School. Representative Josh Kail, via a grant from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development, Community and Economic Assistance Program, made this installation project possible. 70-year-old Tom Proya, a power lifter from New Brighton, achieved 6 world records during 2 national meets held in June and July of 2025. One was the USPA Nationals meet in Pittsburgh, and the other was the WPC National Championships in Detroit, Michigan. Proya bench pressed 331 pounds in one meet and 336 pounds in another to get first place in both. Pennsylvania State Police in Newcastle report that 20-year-old Isabella Brewer was charged after causing a single-vehicle crash on State Route 168 in Lawrence County on Monday. Brewer tried to avoid a deer on that road and hit a telephone pole after she swerved off of the right side of the road. Brewer was not able to be driven from the scene of the crash, and she had no injuries that were reported. According to Pittsburgh officials yesterday, 77-year-old Pastor Rodriguez Rivera Jr., who was reported missing in July, was found dead near the East Busway in Pittsburgh last week. A search for Rivera was conducted on July 21, 2025, and officials confirmed before he went missing he was last seen on the 1000 block of Heron Avenue at a facility for senior living in Polish Hill. Rivera was found dead on Friday, August 8, 2025, and the manner and cause of death for him is unknown at this time.
Here's the Beaver County forecast.
Some areas may see some patchy fog through mid-morning. Otherwise, it'll be mostly cloudy but gradually becoming sunny as the day goes on. We'll see highs near 85. Clear skies tonight. We'll drop down to a low around 62. Lots of sunshine tomorrow. Look for highs in the upper 80s and lows around 64. And sunny, hot, and humid on Saturday. We can expect to see highs near 91 and lows around 67. I'm Lisa Marie with your Beaver County weather.
That's a look at the news for now. I'm Noah Haswell on 99.3 FM, AM 1230 WBVP, 95.7 FM, and 1460 AM WMBA, also streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
We are also streaming live as we are joined in studio by State Representatives Roman Kozak and Josh Kail. We were talking about the budget. At this point, I'm still at an impasse on the budget, but are you anticipating any cuts in any particular programs that you think will have some effects on people?
No, not. That's I mean, it's really hard when you have a budget negotiation or lack thereof. That simply there's just like the starting point right now is okay, guys. This is where we are spending going forward. We can't just blow all this money. And I can tell you that Governor Shapiro ultimately is, from everything that I've read through in budget line items, is he's looking to increase spending in certain areas. I mean, here's the other thing that's just kind of paint a picture for people. That's the economic reality. And this is a situation I think that goes all the way back to the Affordable Care Act in 2000. What year is that now? 10 when that was passed?
10, I believe.
Under President Obama. Healthcare costs are completely out of control. Medicaid costs alone, if we passed the same exact budget as we did last year, the increase in Medicaid spending just to meet what's required, just to meet, as is status quo spending, where you have to increase $2 billion in spending just to keep up with the costs for Medicaid. So that's an economic reality. And again, we could spend hours here talking about why that's happening and what's going on there. But ultimately, this comes back to Obamacare and some of the decisions that were made then, the expansion of federal dollars, what states accepted, what that meant for continuing funding coming in from the feds, how that's transforming things medically in the medicine space as far as reimbursements to hospitals, what hospitals are demanding. There's lack of price transparency ultimately, so it drives costs up. We can go on and on and on about that. But it's a serious problem, and we're going to have to continue dealing with that, even just with status quo spending.
Phone lines are lighting up. If you guys are ready to take another phone call.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Hello, you were on the Beaver County Radio Morning Show with the state reps.
Hey, that's great to be on with them. Hey, listen, guys, where are we at with the emissions bill? That program, like the vehicles controlled by a computer and is not necessary, it started in 85, was $5. Used to be a tailpipe type thing. Now it's more sophisticated. But I believe, and you guys probably do, and it's not necessary with today's vehicles. Now, we're spending $38 to $40. We're probably spending the same amount for the emissions or the state inspection program. And that program is going downhill, too. You look at the vehicles that are out there with oversized tires sticking out over the wheel wells, stones getting thrown everywhere, lift kits, and even the brightness of the headlights. These two programs ought to be abolished.
Isn't there legislation on the table right now to do away with the emissions?
There's always been, not about always, but it's for a while now, before my time, before Josh's time. Senator Elder Vogel, we've been talking about him. He's been working on this issue to try to get it done away with. One of the big things we've run into, in my understanding when I've done research in this, because I think it's absurd as well, particularly, I told this story before on the radio, but when I was knocking doors last year during my campaign up in Franklin Township, right along the border there between Beaver and Lawrence County, I had a gentleman come out and he had a small compact car in his driveway, and he said, look across the street. And there was a gentleman who had a big truck, like you just mentioned. And he said, I have to pay emissions. That guy doesn't, because he lives on the other side of the road, which is the other side of the county, right? So, our other side. And so it's absurd. But what we're learning as well is that part of this has to do with federal clean air standards, our relationship to our distance to a metropolitan area. Not by any means passing the buck, but the reality is there's federal air standards that have been in place that wherever you live in relationship to a greater metropolitan area or a more compact area of number of people, there's certain emission sort of requirements. And ultimately, when you adopt these measures, you have to deal with you have to create an line somewhere. And, I think just like you said, Sarah, the vehicles today are exceeding expectages as far as output for emissions. We lead the world in these types of emission drops, and in the United States, no one else compares to how far we've come, and the fact that we're paying this tax constantly every year on our brand new vehicles. Maybe I don't know if there's a compromise somewhere there where if your vehicle is significantly older, maybe there's something there, but. This is what happens when you continue to rely on this type of revenue and taxes in order to fund certain things. And there's a ton of money that comes from emissions. And I think when you look at the reality of that with the budget situation, people start to get worried about, okay, what do we do when this emissions money goes away, rather than the right question is, okay, how is this affecting residents day to day?
Hey, guys, listen, I've got to run. You guys got a short program. You probably have other callers. The other thing that I wanted to mention, the size of the legislature, that needs to be addressed. And quit fooling around and get some of these things done. And here we are with no budget. Wow. That doesn't make sense. Guys, have a good day. Thanks.
All right, Rick, too. Thanks for your call.
Thanks, Rick.
You want to go to another call?
Yep, let's keep going.
Let's do it. Hello, you're on the Beaver County Radio Morning Show.
Hey, hi again.
Hey, Deborah.
Scott, thanks for the song. And Mr. Josh Kail. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you today, Deborah?
I'm doing good, Miss you and your family. So anyway, listen, we know what Governor Shapiro is up to. He's going to want to run for president. So my question to you is, would you like to run for governor?
I'm on that. I'm there. I'm supporting.
No.
Right,
We are going to have an excellent candidate here in 26, and I'm very content in serving the people in Western Pennsylvania, and I'm looking forward to seeing who Republicans end up putting up for governor to compete against Governor Shapiro. But I appreciate your support on it.
You know, that happens pretty often, Josh. How many times people mention that? Hey, is Josh ever going to run for governor?
It's a big state.
Well, I want to tell you something. You ought to take Governor Shapiro out to the woodshed and tell him to quit, and tell him to quit. Hello?
Yes, we're here.
We're waiting. We're waiting.
We're nervous, but we're
tell him to quit.
Got your hand on the button?
To tell him to quit, worrying about what President Trump is doing and worry about his own Commonwealth.
Yeah, that's part of the problem. I mean, so and I understand the temptation, because now what sucks up all the oxygen is national news. And so if you want to be a player on the national scene, it's not enough just to be an excellent governor in certain people's opinion. You got to go out there and be like Gavin Newsom or that individual from Illinois. I'm not even sure what his name is. Yeah, he's irrelevant. But or others, and basically go out there and make a buffoon of yourself so that you end up on MSNBC or CNN or Fox News or one of the national shows to get some prominence that way. It's unfortunate because there's a lot of work to be done, a lot of good work to be done, a lot of things that we could be doing to driving this Commonwealth forward. You look at someone like Dave McCormick, who has been razor focused on real issues for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the leadership he has shown for this Commonwealth, moving things forward. Senator Fetterman, same thing. Other party, he's a Democrat, but he has been focused on the right issues as it relates to energy and artificial intelligence and other foreign policy issues as well. These guys are putting their heads down and getting work done, rolling up their sleeves, and they're going to get results for the Commonwealth. So that's the type of leadership that we need. And it's unfortunate we're not seeing it right now coming out of Harrisburg.
Hey, Deborah, we're going to try to take another call, but thank you so much for your call.
Right. You're welcome. God bless.
All right,
Thank
you too.
you.
Thank you.
Let's try to squeeze in one more. Hello, you're on the Beaver County Radio Morning Show talking with the reps.
Hi, good morning. What I would like to talk about is I would like to see some standardized rules or laws about bicycles and scooters, and especially these scooters. I don't know where they're supposed to be. They're on the sidewalk, on the road, riding against traffic or going with traffic, and they often, or more often than not, don't have any lights on them. People don't have helmets, even kids. I've seen adults ride like little preschoolers on these scooters with them without any helmets or anything.
We had that in our news report on Tuesday.
Yeah, there's
proposed legislation about that.
Yeah, this is something that we're definitely looking into. And I will also say this, and I know it was hot about 5, 6, maybe 8 years ago. These bike lanes are confusing.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that causes a real dangerous situation for anybody driving a bike. I look down in Monaca or Beaver Falls and other places where there's these bike lanes. And I know they had to do what they had to do in order to get funding for their beautification projects. Don't agree with that as a necessary thing to accomplish as far as putting a bike lane in to get that money. But that was the case at the time. I think that's an issue, too, that we should revisit because these bike lanes are dangerous. I think they're too close to, and they make the roads too narrow as well.
I'm trying to think of the state rep's name on the other side of the state.
There was Abney?
Abby's bill. It was a 12-year-old girl that was ran over. Her scooter fell. She was going fast, and she fell on her scooter and got ran over by a car and killed.
Oh, my goodness.
And so he has legislation he's going to introduce in the House that is because we got the release. Remember, you and I were talking about it the other day. They're going to make it so that they want to make it so scooters can't go faster than 20 mile an hour. And if you're 16 or under, you're not allowed to be on one of those scooters unless you're on private property and you have to wear a helmet.
And the family of the deceased girl was one of the people that's really supporting that legislation.
Is that Jared Solomon? I'm not sure.
No. If you said his name, I'd remember who it is, but I can't remember off the top of my head. He sends me stuff all the time, and I can't remember. He's on the other side of the state. I mean, it's a good law, but he plans on introducing it, and the family's behind it and supporting it. It's called Abby's Law.
We'll have to take a look at that when it comes through.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up.
Okay, thank you for the call.
How about lights?
She mentioned lights on the scooters as well. That might be part of the legislation.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the legislation.
Because they're not motorized. I know that was part of this press release that we got. They're not. Remember, they said that they're not considered a vehicle that's on the road, so they can't be on the road. So they can't regulate that end of it because they're not supposed to be on the road. They're unregistered vehicles, but they should be fined for having an unregistered vehicle on the road.
Yeah. Well, thanks for your call. We only have about a couple minutes left, so I wanted to throw the floor open to you guys. If there's anything moving ahead, what do people need to be prepared for, looking for, and and any more thoughts on what the next step is in the budget process?
Man, ultimately, we just need to continue the negotiation process. There's a product out there now, continuing off of last year's spending number, and that's open negotiations out in public as well need to happen. We need to have those debates. And like Josh said, some of this stuff could have been done months ago. We were too busy, unfortunately, in the State House voting on things like free tampons in bathrooms in the state government buildings while we could have been voting on budget stuff, and that's just a failure of leadership. We should be dealing with real issues that really matter to the Commonwealth people every day: taxes, property taxes, how we as a state can reform major things. And it's a split legislature. Like, that's the other reality we have to deal with here is Pennsylvania is a very large Commonwealth. The region of Philadelphia is very different from our region. Issues are very different in a lot of ways. We have to find ways to work across the aisle to come together and deal with the issues, but we also have to make sure that, and as Josh has been doing for a few terms now, and as hopefully I continue to do through this term, is fighting for the values that really matter to us here in Beaver County, and making sure that our tax dollars are spent wisely.
I get frustrated with this budget and this process. And one of the reasons why in particular is usually when there is a budget impasse, if you look at the past, the long ones, every once in a while it goes a couple weeks over and it's no big deal. It's just kind of tightening up details of things. But the long ones, it comes down to this. There is an issue with revenue, and the legislature has to make a decision. Are they going to cut services or are they going to raise taxes? Because in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, it's not like the federal government. You can't just borrow more money and go into debt. We can't do that. Usually those are the issues that you deal with. Those are big issues. What are we going to cut? Where are we going to get more revenue, right? This year, none of that. It's just a matter of negotiating basically the spend number, and that should have been done in May, and it's not, and it's a failure of leadership, and it's disappointing, and it's going to cause people potentially some harm moving forward. So we got to keep advocating for a fiscally sound budget, and that's what we will do.
Okay, we appreciate you both coming in and keeping us informed on what's going on in Harrisburg. We appreciate all the calls. There's a couple we weren't able to get to. We'll have you back next month.
Let's do it. Let's do it next week. I mean, what the heck?
What the heck?
We'll bring Phil in.
I'll be on vacation next week. You guys can fill in for me.
All right. Thanks you all for listening.
All right.
Thank you.
When you talk about community involvement and safety, the name FRI stands